Welcome to the Catholic Sobriety Podcast, the go-to resource for women seeking to have a deeper understanding of the role alcohol plays in their lives. Women who are looking to drink less or not at all for any reason. I am your host, Christy Walker. I'm a wife, mom, and a joy-filled Catholic, and I am the Catholic Sobriety Coach, and I am so glad you're here. I don't know about you, but I look around the world today and I just think that if people knew just how precious they are in the eyes of God, just how loved they are, and how He equips us and He loves us and He pours into us, I just really feel like our world would be a better place. And as Catholic parents, we just want to do that for our kids. We want to give them that because they're not going to find that in the world. And my guest today, Lindsay Caron, is doing just that. She is the founder and director of Theology of the Body Parent School, which is committed to educating and empowering parents on the purpose and gift of personhood. Welcome, Lindsay. I'm so glad to have you here today.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm really excited to be here and especially to be able to talk about just what you mentioned, like the gifts of our children. It's just so more important now than it ever has been in our culture.
Oh, amen. Yes, I agree. So to get started, Lindsay, could you please share just a bit about your personal journey, maybe your family life, and how it led you to establish the Theology of the Body Parent School?
Yeah, well, I'm a mom of, I have three boys who are 5, 7, and 10. And I grew up in like a stable Catholic home, but it was not one that really talked about feelings very much. We didn't talk about theology of the body. It was coming to exist, but it wasn't known. And the teachings of it, that you're a dignified and precious human being, those weren't really part of the language of my home or many homes, I think, when I grew up. And so I went off to college, and like a lot of people, I got lost pretty quickly. And I had not been that firmly rooted in my identity and the gift of myself. So I went seeking for that in all the wrong places, looking, and sure enough, if you're looking, it's there, right? And I just ended up filling myself with all the wrong things to try to fill that void and tell myself that message that I was loved and I was good enough, and just turned to the culture and turned to drinking and hooking up and the whole scene of college, California, San Francisco. And then 10 years later, I was fully addicted to alcohol and had really just seen my life kind of crumble around me. And I was really, really desperate. So by a miracle, I became sober. I had tried on my own many, many times over that decade, not been able to do it. And it just, through prayer, I woke up one day and was able to stay sober, which I've been for 12 years. Uh, so that started the journey for me of healing. And there's a homily that one of the priests that I know gave one time, and he said that there's a difference between being saved and being healed. And so he likened somebody out in the forest who had had a terrible accident, had fallen down, was alone, had broken legs, and was thinking they were going to die. And then they saw the helicopter come, and they heard the noise of the helicopter, and they realized that they were about to be saved. However, for them to become healed was going to take a lot longer, right? So that, I say that moment 12 years ago was when I was saved from the culture and from the path that I was on, and that the healing was going to take a lot longer. And so I'm still on that healing journey, probably will be for life. But part of that journey led me to Theology of the Body to discover, what my gift and purpose was in life. And then it became really acutely a focus for me when I had my kids, and just recognizing what was going on in the culture, all of the lies that were even worse now than when I grew up, and what my kids were going to face, and seeing their little personalities emerge, and seeing my oldest, who had a personality much like mine, very, very sensitive. And I remember just looking at him when he was little thinking, oh, the world's going to devour him. Like, what can I tell him? What can I teach him? What can I equip him with? And theology of the body became the answer. So really it started with this desire to be able to pass something really solid onto my kids that I didn't have growing up. And then it quickly turned into, well, if I am going to do this for my own kids, the whole world needs it. So
Mhm.
I might as well put it in a format where I can then share it with other people. And it started small. Like, can I share this with my friend group? Can I share this with my local community somehow? And then the idea was just born of this magazine format that we have created. And we're actually now able to share it with the world, which is just truly amazing.
Yeah, that is amazing. I hear so much of myself in your story. So
Mhm.
I am so grateful to you for sharing that. I'm a mom of three boys too. And I love that. And I identify so strongly with that desire to want to equip them, not shield them, but just to prepare them for what they are going to face. And I really realized that desire more as they've gotten older. And the more that I've learned about, what's out there. And of course, even between the time that my twins were little to now they're almost 17, the world has changed. The rhetoric has changed in such a dramatic way that it's like, oh my gosh, I have to even up my game even more. So it's such a blessing that like you're doing what you're doing. And we have other voices in the Catholic Church that are really stepping up and speaking out on these topics that are so important. And as parents, we just need to be able to do that for our kids. And there's something else that you said. I loved that homily about the difference between being saved and being healed. Because a lot of times I say, like when we stop drinking, everything doesn't magically become better. So I work with women in recovery who they don't necessarily need help with the not drinking part, but it's all the other stuff that's
Yeah.
like left in the wake that happened
Yeah.
when we were
Yeah.
drinking. And
Yeah.
that is a healing process. And that does take time because I think a lot of times, even family members or friends think, well, you stopped drinking, so you should be fine now. But that's just the beginning
Yeah.
of a journey, a beautiful journey, but it's a long, twisty,
It's
windy
definitely,
journey.
yeah. It is the one thing, if I'm ever talking to someone about the whole journey, that I try to help people realize always that
Mhm,
the difference between physical and emotional sobriety is two
mhm.
different, I mean, obviously intertwined, but two totally different journeys.
Yeah.
You have to make both of them. And and yeah, I mean, for me, I didn't even know the terms of what to put to this experience until later
Mhm,
on because I lived my first probably 4 or 5 years of sobriety just dry, right? So I didn't
mhm,
know the term dry drunk. I didn't know even the term emotional sobriety. I had quit drinking and, things were starting to heal just by the nature of not having the
mhm,
drink as the Band-Aid. But it wasn't until I had my second son and I had this severe onset of, people call it postpartum depression. I think, frankly, it was just the onset of, okay, your alcoholism is coming to a front. You now need to
mhm.
deal with it because
Right.
your circumstances are too stressful and you can't just be dry anymore. You have to actually go deep.
Mhm,
And it could have been a combination of both of those things, but it was right after he was born and that allowed me to start the healing journey. But yeah, definitely
mhm.
very, very distinct aspects of
Yeah.
sobriety. Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm glad that you mentioned it because it's like be patient with yourself. Because I think that sometimes we can be hard on ourselves too. Like, why am I not getting this? Why don't I feel better? Or why, is everything still so hard? And it's just like we just have to be patient with ourselves and just work through the process and bring God into it. Um, and it is possible, but it's going to take time. It's kind of like grief, right?
Yeah.
Grief, you don't
Mhm.
just like get over it like once the funeral is
Nope.
over. It's a huge, long, lifelong process.
Yeah.
of learning to live differently and without that person. And so you're learning to live in a very alcohol soaked culture where it's everywhere and
Mhm.
everybody thinks that it's funny because, well, it's not funny. It's kind of sad. But like yesterday, my 10-year-old came home and he was like, Mom, I need your coin. I need to take it to school tomorrow. I'm like, what coin? My mom had given me a 25-year coin on my 25th anniversary of being sober. And I was like, you're not taking that to class. He's like, no, I need to take it. I'm like, why? And he's like, because we had a substitute and she said that she was asking us like what we gave up for Lent. And we said, what did you give up for Lent? And she said, drinking alcohol. And I was like, oh, that's a really good thing to give up. He's like, yeah, but I said that you've been doing that for 27 years and no one believed me. None of the kids believed me. So I have to bring proof.
Oh my goodness,
And
it's
I
so
was like, they couldn't believe you.
I
They're
know.
10 years old. But, and it's not
Uh-huh.
even, I'm not even saying that that's what's always happening in their home, but it's just what's everywhere, right? It's in TV, it's in movies. It's, they're like, of course, grown-ups, every grown-up drinks, every grown-up has to,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it would be like if someone told me they hadn't had a cupcake in 27 years. I don't
Right.
think
It's like, what? You're
wait,
lying.
what?
Yeah.
Tell me how you do that. So interesting.
Yes. So I've heard you say that one of the things that you try to do is to teach parents to teach their kids that they are unrepeatable. And I
Mhm.
love that. So can you explain what unrepeatable means in the context of theology of the body and why it is so important for young people to understand it?
Yeah, I think that that is, I mean, it's just so blatantly what they're missing in the
Mhm.
messaging, first of all, from the culture. So everything from TV and social media and airbrushed pictures and magazines just says that, things can be created on a whim. So just teaching kids that they are so valued for being the one and only them. We talk about it in terms of like fingerprints. We all know nobody has your same set of fingerprints, but do we talk about that in terms of the soul? Nobody
Mhm.
will ever have the soul imprint that you have on the world. The exact combination of all of your gifts and talents and traits and desires and hopes and quirks and your sense of humor, um, and how it matters. They have to know that it matters. They have to
Mhm.
know that they matter. And I think within theology of the body, a lot of people think that it is only about gender and sex. That's a huge misnomer about it. It's actually been standardized into teaching standards now in the last 4 years or so. There's 12 teaching standards, and only one of those has to do with sexuality. The other 11 are on the like unrepeatability and sense of gift of personhood, of body and soul. And it all wraps up and culminates in this teaching of vocation. And so, in the magazines, especially, we break down that vocation in terms of yes, there's either married life or single life or consecrated religious life. But then also within your job, too, you don't just do a job. Some people just do a job. Um, and most of us are really very blessed and fortunate enough that if we are reading Theology of the Body and we are listening to podcasts like this, we have the resources and the gifts that we can train a child to look for a vocational calling that will give them ultimate fulfillment and purpose, not just for themselves, but to give that back kind of in honor to God. So helping them identify what are the absolute gifts that you have that maybe your brother doesn't have. And this is not to
Mhm.
shame anyone in the family, but to say, you have these gifts. You, brother, you have these gifts. And then third brother, you have these gifts. Look how they're all different. And we're all part of the body of Christ, right? And so helping them understand what kind of career and vocation and answer to a calling that they can live out with the rest of their life. That's very a theology of the body.
Right now, alcohol feels like the only way that you can cope with the stress of motherhood, social pressures, and maybe even fit in with your group of friends. But you're starting to realize that it's leaving you feeling ashamed, disconnected, and maybe even out of control. Imagine if you could wake up each morning feeling at peace and proud of the choices that you're making and free from the pressure to drink, whether that's at home or in social settings. And that, my friend, is where my 5-day Sacred Sobriety Kickstart comes in. By the end of the 5 days, you will feel more peaceful and in control because you will have more clarity and confidence around your decisions to take it or leave it. You're also going to learn how to manage your mind in a way that is aligned with your faith. You will learn how to speak truth over yourself, and that will help you root out what's keeping you stuck. So check out my 5-day Sacred Sobriety Kickstart and gain the clarity you need to make the decision to take alcohol or leave it from a place of peace. You can visit my website, thecatholicsobrietycoach.com. I have a pop-up there, or just go to my show notes. Yeah, I'm so glad that you mentioned that, because a lot of times when I've thought of theology of the body, and the things that I've bought on it have been related to, like purity, chastity, our body, but it's usually like that's kind of what I'm going for.
Yes.
I believe so strongly that it's so important that everyone know, just like you were saying, we're like snowflakes, not in like a bad way, but like
Yeah.
in the unique way of, yeah, our natural talents, our experiences and everything, plus our spiritual gifts and our charisms, and how that all works together. And God has created it and even used, right, our experiences of straying and choosing not the right thing
Yeah.
to make something so beautiful, because that is what prompted you to do what you're doing. And that's what prompted me to do what I'm doing.
Mhm.
And I think that knowing that everybody's going to have their falls, everyone's going to have their temptations, everyone's going to have these things. But if they have the tools to know, like, I don't have to give in and do what the culture is telling me that I have to do, or be what the culture is telling me I have to be, that I can actually turn to these tools. And maybe if they do fall, they'll be able to pick themselves up a little bit easier, because they do know that they're unrepeatable, that they have purpose, that they are worth something, that their body is a temple of the Holy Spirit, even when
Mhm.
they're filling it with pizza and beer in
Yeah.
college. I don't know.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's so good. And I think that, yeah, as I've really acquired this language, it was interesting earlier, you mentioned the rhetoric of the culture having changed in the last 15 years or so, even just drastically. But
Mhm.
rhetoric is a really, really powerful tool. A lot of people are using it for evil right now, to reframe and reword the way that they want to present an agenda. But it can also be used in the absolute opposite, for such good, right? And I think
Mhm.
that the biggest gift that learning and kind of immersing myself in just allowing theology of the body to seep into my soul and my being has done for me is given me a whole language, a whole rhetoric of how to approach my family, my kids, my life. And it all revolves around the theme of
Mhm.
gift and love. And so really, I think helping children, this is the best way. Of course, we can look at our kids and be like, oh, your gifts, your obvious gifts are this, this, and this. Good
Mhm.
job. We love you. And that's what report
Mhm.
cards show and everything. But it's taking those really difficult moments and saying, okay, your behavior just expressed this thing, which is maybe not the best manifestation of this spiritual charism. But let's look at what it would be like if this spiritual charism manifested in a good and holy way in you.
Mhm.
And I mean, those are big words, obviously, just bring it down for little kids of saying, I'll give the example of my oldest son because, this is where the whole teaching has really affected me personally the most, is in this area of concern and fear that I've had for him as I've seen that he's so sensitive, right? And looking back at when I was little and everybody told me, you're so sensitive stop being so thin-skinned.
Mhm.
Why are you so sensitive? And it was only ever pointed out as a negative thing to me. And it's like, it has taken me these years of learning and healing to realize that it's one of my greatest gifts.
Mhm.
And that's really sad. That shouldn't happen at almost 40. That should happen when they're little. And so we talk about it all the time. When he's
Mhm.
very sensitive about something, all the time, we break it down as to this is how this kind of hurt you in this situation. This is why this is a gift, though. This is how
Mhm.
you can use your sensitivity as a gift. Just a reminder all the time.
Mhm.
His
But
sensitivity can help the world.
mhm.
Mhm.
Oh, that is so good. That is so good because I would never think of it like that. Like I've done so much study on charisms and spiritual gifts, and I've never thought of it that way. Like this is why you're responding this way, but what if you use it for this? That's so good. Thank you for sharing that.
Mhm. Mhm.
I also just want to say thank you because you had said that you saw this need within your family. You wanted to create this within your family. And then you were like, well, I need to share this with the world. So thank you for that. Yes, because you could have
Yeah.
just kept it with your family and your, three boys and your husband and maybe shared it with some friends.
Yeah.
But I just appreciate your drive to do that because I feel like because we both are into spiritual gifts and charisms and knowing them and the importance of that. But one of the biggest things with charisms is how they're not for us, they're to be shared and for
Mm.
us to use them to work together, just like we're both doing now. Like you have your charisms, I have my charisms, and you have your mission and ministry, and I have mine, and yet they can still come together and help and reach more Christians and build up the kingdom of God for his glory, right? And
Yeah.
hopefully raise up that next generation.
Yeah. I would say to that, if anybody, because you nailed it when you said, thank you for your yes. It wasn't like my idea. It was definitely an idea from the Holy Spirit. And it was an opportunity to just say yes to it and to
Mhm.
go along with it. And so I would say two things to people. One, if you are feeling any kind of prompting, anything that
Mhm.
you feel like you should say yes or maybe yes, do it. Whatever that is, God will put on your heart what to do next. Maybe it's just send an email to so and so, and then that'll get the ball rolling in the direction of the way that you're being called. And then I would say also don't despair and don't be discouraged if you're not feeling an invitation because now might not be your time. So for me, I got sober and I was dry and I was doing a lot of things to try to experiment with sharing the faith, but my soul, it wasn't ready yet. And God knew that, but I didn't know that. So I remember being at the time on Instagram and looking at the kind of like the key, Catholic uh, women influencers of our
Mhm.
generation, Sarah Swafford, Jackie Francois, like these cute moms, and they had kids and they were out and they were doing stuff. And I was like, Lord, what about me? I want to. I
Mhm.
want to. And I felt so jealous. And I had to get off Instagram and, it was one of those I really had to trust, and it was painful because I wanted to be used. And he wasn't ready for me because I wasn't ready. My soul wasn't ready,
Mhm.
you know. So just
Yeah.
trust that
Yeah.
time. Yeah.
Yeah, his timing is perfect. And that's the same. I so identify with that. Like even all those names, I remember just being like, I wish that I could do something like that and make a difference. And
Yeah.
you see their impact and you see how many lives that they're able to touch. And it's like, I know, but I think that's that desire that God places on our heart. And so he's like, not now, but soon. But you have that on your heart. And who knows how long they had it on their heart before they got to where they are, because you never see like that lead up. You
No,
just see
that's right.
who they are now.
Yeah.
And that was something I had to really come to terms with and understand because, like you, I was like, well, I'm never going to be able to do what they're doing. I'm never going to have that kind of an impact. But it was realizing I'll have the impact that God wants me to have. And I just have to get out of my head and just start doing, right? Because if we don't do and we're paralyzed by the fear, or we're paralyzed by thinking, I'm never going to be so and so, you're not going to be so and so. You're going to
Yeah.
be you. But as long as you keep giving God your yes, then he'll use you in the way that he intends to. That could be small, that could just be within your parish, or, your community or your diocese. It could be bigger. It just depends, but we just have to keep giving him our yes. I always think of, there's a Mother Angelica quote that's like, I won't even say it right, but it's something like, I'm not afraid to die, but I'm afraid of getting to heaven, and God saying, but look what you could have done if you had,
Oh, yeah.
been
Mhm.
obedient, or if you had
Yeah.
done what I asked. And she's like, that's what I'm afraid of, is not being able to do that, everything that God intends for me to do.
Yeah. Yeah. And like all good things, it can lead to this sense of overwhelm if we
Mhm.
don't enter that with prayer and
Yes.
humility, right? So even that stirred in my heart all the things I want to do more of that
Mhm.
I don't have the time to do it all. And so all of this stirring, the stirring, especially in this area, to be sober
Mhm.
for, the Lord as a woman in a Catholic home, especially in the region where we live, the devil doesn't want that to happen.
Mhm.
So the things that will be used to tempt us away from that will be things like hearing a quote like that and going, oh, yeah, that's right. I want to do more than what I'm doing. No, it's
Mhm.
like a constant battle,
Yeah.
constantly being told um, that we need to do more. In fact, I take great pride in looking at my phone frequently and saying, what can I get rid of?
That's good.
That's my newest thing. I was like, what apps can I get rid of? What habits can I get rid of? What can I take off the calendar? What's the
Mhm.
least we can do? Because there is one great Pope Francis quote that I love, and it's something, I don't know if I'll get it quite right, but he says, don't be afraid of wasting time with your kids. Never be afraid of
Mhm.
wasting time with your kids, quote unquote, wasting.
Yeah.
Just what a gift,
Mhm.
if we could, of course, like Mother Angelica, we want to answer all the callings and do all the things, but what if the calling is to lay around with your kid after school for an hour and not do
Exactly.
anything?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Right. And that's the seasons too that we're in, because when I was having all those stirrings and promptings and wanting to do all these things, really, that was my time. There's like those hidden years, when you're with your kids. So you can only do so much. Now all my kids are in school, and I have more time. But yeah, you don't want to waste that time worried about needing to do something great. You're doing something great just by being their mom and being present, because that's really our first priority before doing the other stuff, because there'll always be time for that
Yeah.
later.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
My previous guest, Paige Ryan, she said something that has stuck with me, and it relates to drinking, scrolling, any of those things that just take our attention and distract us. Like you were saying, the devil wants nothing more than that, to distract us from our families, distract us from our motherhood, distract us from God. But she said something that she had read or seen or heard that was like, if you check out like that, then you are going to miss something that you are supposed to see, that you are supposed to hear, and that you are supposed to do. And I think of that. I've been thinking of that ever since she said that. And so, like you, it's like, well, if I'm just playing this game on my phone, or if I'm just scrolling Instagram, or, you know, and my 10-year-old comes up to like say something to me and I don't give him my full attention, I might miss, what I really needed to hear from him at that moment, and what he needed to tell me, and the reaction he needed from me. So I
Yeah.
think not being down on ourselves about it, but just having that awareness, like, oh, yeah, maybe I'm not going to do that next time. Or,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah, I'm a big fan of just one thing at a time. Just take
hmm
one of those distractions at a time and cut it off, right?
hmm
So, because we can get a lot of things back, right? We live in a
hmm
culture where we can we can go to the store and kind of get back
hmm
if we toss something. But I'm kind of in the stage where my youngest is now 5, and I started doing some training again, and my trainer is very big into the mental and the mindset. Like, none of it really matters if we're not doing it for the right reasons, which is the first time that's really started to shift my brain. So anyway, with that, I've started just getting rid of these distractions and these crutches. So,
hmm
I think alcohol for some people can become an addiction just because of the nature of culture and society, and we drink a lot, and then it's a problem. For most people, it's because it's a crutch. It's because
hmm
it's a band-aid, and it helps
hmm
us cope in a way, where we were uncomfortable before. And so with that gone, I found, oh my gosh, wow, I still have a lot of crutches. I still have quite a
hmm
few. And so years ago, I started with Instagram. So it wasn't on my phone, and then it wasn't, and then I got rid of it completely. And then I don't miss it at all. But then I was going on the internet to look at whatever, the news, which is awful. I don't know
hmm
why. I told my sister, I can be in bed and scroll the news for an hour at night and just read murder story after murder story. And she's like, well, that sounds awful. At least when I'm on the internet for an hour, I come out with a great handbag. um, but I got, you wouldn't think you could. And I might have to add it back as my kids get older and into more things. They're still in that sweet spot. But I just took the internet off my phone 3 months ago. And I can do pretty much everything. If I get a link I'm interested in, I look it up later that day on my computer. But
hmm
90% of them aren't that interesting later. You
Right.
know what I mean? And so, yeah, so I'm a big fan of just saying, what's one thing I can try to get rid of? Just try,
Yeah.
and don't say, oh, I think I'm going to go on my Instagram less, or I think I'm going to go on the internet less to check the news. Just take it off your phone.
hmm
And for me, it was, some sleep aids. I really wanted to get good sleep. Alcohol used to help me sleep.
hmm
So I would take Benadryl. Well, that's not great for me. And so I just threw it out. Then I would take melatonin. It's like, I don't need that, probably, but I'm scared to not have something to help me feel the way I want to feel. So
hmm
that's still there.
hmm
So I threw it out. I could go to a store and get it. I think probably any woman listening to this has 50 distractions vying for her time and or crutches, and she has those children around her maybe, and or other things of value and importance, and she has this feeling maybe of guilt, and there's no room for guilt.
Right.
Don't have guilt, but just get rid of the crap.
Yeah. It's about moving forward, right? Just doing better in the next day. Every day is a new day. So just don't worry about what happened yesterday. And that's something I really work on with my clients. Like, yeah, not the best choice, but there's nothing you can do about it now. So let's learn from it and move forward and develop a plan for moving forward. If it's a distraction, especially when they quit drinking, because a lot of times they don't want to take it out of their house, but because they're like, well, what if I want to have it later or my husband wants it later? I'm like, that's fine. But if you can remove it for a time, then it won't be that crutch, like you were saying, just to reach for it. It makes it a lot harder if you actually have to go to the store to get
Yeah.
it,
Yeah.
or, so just make it a little harder on yourself. 'Cause sometimes I'll do that with apps, like I'll take it off my phone or I'll have it on my phone, but I'll hide it. So it's not like
Mhm.
on my
Mhm.
screen when I first open up my phone. So then it just takes more time to get to it. So just
Yeah.
little tricks like that. And I love that you said one thing at a time. Like you don't have to just do it all at once because that's overwhelming and then you
Yeah.
feel deprived. And then one other thing I would say to that is when you do that, really pay attention to what you're gaining from not having it there.
Mhm.
Because, you'll see people that do like, I don't know, dry January, or they decide they're not going to drink for Lent and they'll be like in the corner at a party and they'll look all mad and like sad and
Yeah.
everything. And then,
Yeah.
and it's like, okay, all they're thinking about is what they gave up. That's
Yeah.
all they're thinking about. They're not thinking about the fact that they're not going to be hungover the next morning, that they're
Yeah.
not going to overdrink and be silly, that they're not, they're not thinking about all the stuff they're gaining. They're just mad. And I was there, so I know
Uh-huh.
exactly what that is. Because
Yeah.
I would do that to my friends. I would go to the bar and not drink and just glare at everyone.
Oh no.
And it was not enjoyable. But now I go and to things and I'm so like fine about it.
Yeah.
Even in early recovery, I was fine about it because I realized I am not having to deal with all the stuff that I had to deal with before from a night of drinking. So just
Yeah.
keep track of it, whether you write it down or just
Mhm.
mentally think about recognizing, oh, I played a game with my kids. We played two games and, or I read a book or, whatever it is, we went on a walk, just things that maybe you wouldn't normally do because of the distraction. And then
Yeah.
that'll help not feel that deprivation that is
Sure.
natural. We're human. We're going to feel that.
And I love that part of the act of contrition to avoid what leads me to sin. And so
Hmm.
that's probably my favorite part. And I think good advice for people who are in that mad and sad stage
Hmm.
is to don't go to things that are
Hmm.
bothersome. Your soul is so precious and it's
Hmm.
so attacked from every which direction. If your spiritual growth is in a place where you know that being in a certain environment is going to challenge that
Hmm.
in a way that you may not have the strength for, you just don't go there. Don't go there.
Hmm.
Or same with the bar, if that is upsetting to you. And like right now, I don't want to go to a bar because I like to go to bed at 7:30. So
Right.
that's not, but for a period, yeah, I had the sober experience where I could be there. And when we go to events, I actually really like for other people around me to be able to drink because they loosen up and they relax. And I mean, I don't like that for them if I have a sense that they have an addiction and that it's feeding their problem. But for people who are, quote, normies who can go out and have a drink or two
Hmm.
and it helps them relax and enjoy the evening, I enjoy that for them.
Hmm.
And it helps me relax.
Hmm.
And I'm around people that I know are relaxed. But you have to read the room, know the environment,
Hmm.
know the state of your soul, even know the time of your cycle. It's different
Yeah.
for me. I will want to go out and interact at different times of the month. And that's theology of the body too. I try to
Hmm.
teach like my poor boys, or I should say their lucky wives to be. They are learning things about the female cycle and the anatomy and like
Hmm.
how it's not just the body, the soul, the person
Hmm.
goes through these changes and what the purpose is. That's just such an amazing part of what we teach is like the purpose and the design of
Yeah.
the whole anatomy and the egg and what happens at the start of a
Hmm.
life. When you see it coming back to what we talked about earlier in the themes of gift and love, it's no longer a political debate about, the state of legislation around life issues.
When you say if they know theology of the body, the teaching of theology of the body, and everything that that encompasses, I mean, it leaves zero room for debate on any of the other stuff because it's
Yeah.
science,
Yeah.
it's our nature, and
Yeah.
then also, like you said, our souls that are so unique and beautiful and unrepeatable. So, how do you approach teaching the parents about the person? And then, how do they in turn convey that to their children?
Yeah. So our organization, we have used the term school really loosely, more metaphorically, just to represent a group of us parents who want to help provide education to other parents. But we are essentially headquartered mostly in the same place. And then we have other national support, and we have come together to create materials that we can sell online to parents anywhere. And we don't have really direct interaction with the parents unless they reach out to us with questions or anything. Instead, what they would do is order the materials that we've created because they've been created and curated so carefully with the parent in mind. And then they are available in all the different age groups. So let's say a parent it has a 12-year-old and a 5-year-old, and they're like, I've got to start teaching this stuff to my kids. All they have to do is get a set of TOB monthly middles, which would be, cover the age group, the middle school age group, the 12-year-old, and then TOB monthly kids technically starts at about age 5. Um, and then they just open that up with their kids. And it's like a mini magazine. So it's technically 8 pages with a front and back cover. So each issue is 6 pages of content. So you can take one issue a week or one issue a month if you want to, do more of a deep dive and review concepts a couple times. And there's these 8 issues that come. So the 8 issues reflect those 12 standards that I told you about earlier. We just happen to group a couple of them together, but they're very directly related to these very well approved Christian anthropology standards that are based on the theology of the body. And each set of standards is a theme, and each theme has a little magazine. And I mean, 6 pages is not, it's not much. It's like a scholastic style leaflet. It's a really very, very simple. So a parent does not need to be overwhelmed. And they can, and I would suggest that they preview them before they dive into it with their kids, but they can just also open it up and just start going. Just start going through it page by page with their child. And then the other thing to know about it is that all of the themes are lined up with each other amongst the different age groups. So like, let's say you want to get this set of 8, but you want to go straight to issue number 3, which deals with gender because your child has a classmate that is bringing home questions about gender ideology. So you might choose to get the sets for all of the different ages that your children are and open up to issue 3. And if you open up to issue 3 in kids and middles and teens, it's all going to be the same content about gender. It's just different. It's age appropriate. So, you might choose to have your 5-year-old step away from the table for some of it.
Oh, that's good to know because I was wondering about that because I have teenagers and who I would like to, I mean, we've talked about this, obviously, they're 16, so they have a pretty good understanding, but I don't know that we've really talked theology of the body. And so I was wondering if they would have to have the middle and the high school ones, but it sounds like it's just the same material just for their age group. So like we have a 10-year-old and then the 16-year-old. So they would have the 2 different versions, right? What are the age groupings? Actually, I should ask you that.
Exactly what you said. Yeah. And then, so the age groupings, it's littles is from ages 2 to 5. And then kids 6 to 9, middles is 10 to 13, teens is 14 to 18, and campus is 19 to 22. And the way that you just suggested it is exactly how I would do it. You can also, some people who are brand new to it, or maybe they're a native Spanish speaker. We do have Spanish translations coming, but they're not available yet. They might choose to get a younger version and just start more simply. So you can always start younger and then build up. If for a family that maybe is brand new to these concepts and they don't want to dive right into the high school stuff is pretty mature, right? And it'll cover the topic and the concepts. But if you want to break down to just what the concept is, if you get littles, it's right there and it's pictures and, 10 words on the page. It's very easy.
Now, do you do anything like for schools or faith formation like things, or is it just for parents?
So, our materials are available to schools, parishes, faith formation groups, homeschool groups. We have a bulk rate. Right now, people just have to email to get that process going. Soon, all of that information will be on our website. And a number of different people across the country have ordered for their schools and or parishes And I'm not certain how they're all choosing to use it and implement it. My suggestion is always that they open it up and they introduce it in the school or the parish, and then they send it home with the parent. And then if they care enough, they can ask for some kind of reinforcement that they've done it at home. There is a
Mhm.
certain point where we have to say, we've done what we can, and it's in the
Right.
hands of the people that we're giving it to. But I do think that a lot of things get passed home to
Mhm.
parents and get thrown out because it is so overwhelming, the paper trail that comes home
Mhm.
as a parent.
Yeah.
So I don't think it's a bad idea for a school or a parish to say, this is really important. This is
Mhm.
different than some of the other things that may come home to you. We would
Mhm.
like you to sign that you've done it.
That's good to know because I think it would be so nice because it's theology of the body, which is just
Mhm.
so beautiful. It's so beautiful when you know it.
Yes.
And I don't even know it as much as I wish that I did. And so I am going to get some of those magazines because I think it would be really, really good, especially for the ages that our kids are at. And I love that you even have that added age group of the college kids because college young adults because
Yes.
they really still need that
They need
too.
it. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
sometimes they get forgotten, especially when you look around parishes, there's just not a lot of things, at least around here, there's not a lot of things for that age group. So to have something, a resource like this that's geared towards them, I think is really,
Yeah.
really good.
And the hope there is that anybody who works in a campus ministry or knows someone
Mhm.
who does that's listening, I I think any campus minister would be thrilled to know about this resource and just
Yeah.
buy it and have it in their lobby, in their lounge.
Mhm. Mhm.
And that's affordable because, as kids come in through the lounge area or a Newman Center, they can reread the same set. You don't have to pay thousands.
Mhm.
I just would love for every campus ministry and every Newman Center to order at least a few sets.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a great idea. And yeah, just like leave them around because they'll get curious and they'll pick them up and read them because there's so much of the other stuff
Yeah,
everywhere in their
yeah,
face. They're on Instagram, YouTube, anywhere. I mean, it's just like bombarding
yeah,
with all these messages. So the more that we can put solid resources like this in front of them, all the better. And the fact that it's like a magazine, it's actually like a tangible like thing.
yeah.
It's not just a
Not just
link
on
because
their
I send my kids
phone.
links and I don't ever know if they look at them,
Oh,
but I
true.
pray sometimes.
Yeah, yeah. Well, we are working on getting a digital version
Hmm.
just as an option too, because
Yeah.
I feel like everybody out there is split half and half. They prefer
Yeah.
paper or digital, and yeah,
Yeah.
can't hurt.
I'm old school, so I'm like, I love the paper.
Oh,
And
I love the
especially as a
paper.
parent, like going through it with your kid, it's with your
Mm.
children, it's really nice to have that
I
paper version.
absolutely hands down recommend the paper version of this. The
Hmm.
digital is just because, for people where it just really works better for them.
Hmm.
But up until, well, actually, even up through the campus, there is room for them to kind of respond and journal and write
Hmm.
some things. And that's really a big component of the kids,
Hmm.
especially, and then middles and teens a little bit, where they can interact with the material and they're prompted to draw or color or write something to interact. So
So then do you need a set, do you think, for each child?
I typically would recommend a set for each child. It can become
Hmm.
cost prohibitive.
Hmm.
Every family just has to do what they have
Hmm.
to do, right? And if you can afford to get a kid their own set and you really think you're going to use it, I think that it's entirely worth the investment. I liken it
Hmm.
a lot to what we are willing to spend on sports for
Yeah.
kids, what we are willing to spend on birthday parties for
Hmm.
kids, and what we are willing to spend on pets. And
Right.
so if
Yes.
if you were to look at any of those three categories and actually look at your numbers, then even though it's $28 a set for your kids and you have 5 kids and that sounds crazy, the other things that I just mentioned are crazier. And this
Hmm.
is the state of their soul. And if you can make room in your budget, look at it as an investment for sure.
Hmm. Hmm.
Yeah.
Well, and by investing in it, not only are you investing in your family and your children, which is first and foremost so important, but it's also investing in your mission and just being part of helping you get this in the hands of more people and
Yeah.
continue it and grow it so that more parents and educators can have access to it.
Yes. Yeah. Amen. Yes.
So,
We're still in the baby stages of marketing. We've been so focused on content creation because we got our cycle
yeah.
A done and out, and we earned the imprimatur from Archbishop Sample on it. So it is
Yay.
solid and it's out there, and we're working on B because we really, really want cycle B done before I dive into all the other things like
Hmm.
marketing, fundraising,
Hmm.
swag, stickers, all the fun stuff.
Yeah. That's good. You got to lay the foundation and
Yeah.
then you can start building it with all the other stuff. So, I mean, and just being on, podcasts and getting the word out. I heard you on local radio here, and so that was great. And so I know that that probably had to have reached a lot of parents who needed to hear that as well. So, thank you for just being willing to
Yeah.
share everything, share all your information, your education, your insights,
Mhm.
and everything that you've shared here today, and just your willingness to be so open about your alcohol use and your recovery. And congratulations on 12 years also.
Thank you.
So
Thank you.
now go ahead. I'll just go ahead and give you the floor one more time.
Uh-huh.
If you want to let people know where they can find you, how they can sign up for or get these magazines, and if anything else that you want to promote, you have the floor.
Okay, thanks. Our website is tobparentschool.org, and you can do everything there. You can order the magazines, you can inquire about bulk orders, and you can make donations. We are a 501(c)(3), so we're registered nonprofit, tax deductible, and we're entirely volunteer led and really, like I said, needing to grow. And so as I look to marketing and fundraising, it's exciting, but there's no budget for that yet. So any help, obviously is much appreciated. And then I'd say the only other thing that I would mention is that one of the things that we support is people who want to build a community of like-minded parents around them to study this kind of stuff, maybe some adult theology of the body books, and help equip them and feel strengthened in their ability to talk to their kids. We help people set up local communities. So, um, I think you can see on our website all the locations, and they're across the country. There's about 8 of them right now.
Mhm.
So from coast to coast, Atlanta, Boston, New York, California, Portland. So just wherever the spirit is leading, if you're hearing this and you're like, oh, I want to do that, you just reach out to us. And it's always a beautiful thing because it pulls new people into this story, and it's great.
Yeah, and it's so nice to have support and, like you said, other like-minded individuals and parents working together to do that. So
Mhm.
that is amazing. I didn't even know you did that. So
Yeah.
that's just another huge blessing that is going to help connect other Catholic parents and just
Yeah.
get them to be able to help their kids and the world, right? Because
Yeah.
that's what it's going to eventually do. So.
Yes. Yeah.
Well, thank you so much again, Lindsay, for being here.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me.
Well, that does it for this episode of the Catholic Sobriety Podcast. I hope you enjoyed this episode, and I would invite you to share it with a friend who might also get value from it as well. And make sure you subscribe so you don't miss a thing. I am the Catholic Sobriety Coach, and if you would like to learn how to work with me or learn more about the coaching that I offer, visit my website, thecatholicsobrietycoach.com. Follow me on Instagram at the Catholic Sobriety Coach. I look forward to speaking to you next time. And remember, I am here for you. I am praying for you. You are not alone.